Welcome to another episode of Behind the Brick Wall. This is a program the Amesbury Chamber of Commerce puts on with our friends from Faulkner Commercial Group and Mountaintop Landscaping when we partner with our other friends at Amesbury Community Television to produce a program where we take you behind the brick wall of Amesbury's businesses. I'm Phil DiCollegiero, I'm the Executive Director of the Chamber, and I'm excited because today we're not going behind the brick walls, we're going behind the concrete walls. You like that, right, Janet?
I like that. And actually we will talk about this, but actually that concrete wall is a brick wall. So.
Oh, this is true.
We'll
so now
find out more about that.
We've teased folks. So our first visit today, we're actually visiting two really neat businesses that may not be super familiar to the average person watching this as far as what they do, but the brands may be something that's familiar, and that's because they both have trucks that are all over the roads. And of course, I'm talking about Amesbury's own Shaheen brothers. And so they're located over on Haverhill Road. It's exciting because they have this big facility, these bright red and yellow trucks that we often see on highways. They service a lot of our restaurants and food-based industries. And you're taking us to go and meet with Fred Shaheen, one of the owners.
The Shaheen family, yep.
I'm excited for that. I'm equally excited that we just had to go right next door to see our next guest. And this is a family that I'm really excited about. It's a family the Amesbury business community is excited about. They're actually our reigning family business of the year at the Amesbury Chamber. We're going to visit Shea Concrete, another great business that. You know.
It's so interesting that they're both family businesses that started really small and now they've got big corporations. So it's going to be really fun.
But still family owned and operated, and together I think representing over 200 local employees. I think I actually doing the back of the envelope math. I'm just thinking this is our 10th episode of Behind the Brick Wall that we were taping, and I'm fairly confident actually these are our two largest businesses we've sat down with, and they represent about 200 employees. Yeah. So our biggest ones yet, and ones I'm excited to go visit. So
great, let's go.
Cool.
Fred, thanks so much for having us in today and carving the time out of your day to sit down and tell us a little bit more about the company. We've seen Shaheen Bros here, seems like forever. So can you tell us a little bit about the history and how it all came to be?
Well, here in Amesbury, we've been here since 1989, I believe. We moved into this building in January, but we're into this November will be our 82nd year incorporated as a family business. How it started, I was not there when it started, so I've been lucky in the gene pool. My father, my uncles, my grandfather, my mother, in the beginning started the business. And they started with a storefront on Common Street in Lawrence, and just in a produce business. Huh. And they'd go to the Boston Produce Market, in those days was at Faneuil Hall area. Yep. And go in and buy produce every day, come back, and sell it to the local stores in Lawrence and Greater Lawrence. And again, it was strictly produce at the time.
In 1982?
No, in 1940.
In 1940.
82 years ago. Yeah, we'll be 82 years, if I got my numbers correctly, this November.
Wow.
Incorporated. They were in business, I guess, a couple of years before they incorporated.
Wow, that's great. And this facility, how long?
89. We moved in, I believe it was 1989, January 13th, a Friday, in 89, I believe it was, that we moved into this building.
And what brought them to Amesbury?
Well, we were in Lawrence, and we were kind of confined to area-wise, space-wise. Mm-hmm. We tried to buy some property next door to us in Lawrence. We would have probably never left Lawrence. And there was a coal company there that was probably in business 150 years or so. And he wasn't ready to sell. And the day we dug here to start this building, he called me up and he said, "I think I'm ready to sell now."
Oh.
And it was too late.
Well, that was lucky for Amesbury.
Yeah, well, lucky for everybody. He finally sold his property, and he did fine also. Yeah.
Good, good. So when you started here in Amesbury, how many employees do you think do you know?
I don't really remember.
How big of an operation it was?
Well, it was about less than half the size it is now. Let's put it that way.
The building itself?
Oh, the building itself was probably double the size overall at the time. Yeah, pretty close to double the size of what we had in Lawrence. And in order to expand, we felt we just needed more room.
Right.
And again, we would have never left Lawrence At least at that time, we wouldn't have
Right.
left if we could have bought the property next door.
Right. Well, we're glad that you're in Amesbury, and I know that you're pretty active with the chamber.
Well, my
And-
director of sales is active with the chamber. I'm
And-
not. I let the younger people do that now.
And a great support for the chamber. I know you are sponsors of the block party, which was great and appreciated. Tell us about the employees. How many people do you employ here?
I believe right now we have roughly about 60 employees and maybe about 10 or 11 temp employees.
And where do your employees live in Amesbury or the surrounding area?
Amesbury, New Hampshire, Maine, Lawrence area, Haverhill area, some down on the North Shore. So they've come from all around, really.
So tell us a little bit about the business and what actually goes on here.
Well, we're a distributor. We don't manufacture anything. We don't make anything. We're a distributor. We buy it from some of the major suppliers and bring it in, and we knock on doors. That basically the biggest part of our business is the restaurant business, the hospitality. But we also do school lunch programs, hospitals, nursing homes, some schools, colleges, and such. But most of the business is really to the independent restaurant operator.
Interesting. Now, if that brings up something we've talked to a lot of different business owners about, and how were you affected by the whole pandemic, and if your clients, customers are restaurants and schools, how did that affect your business?
Like they were affected. Business slowed down. People were not going out as often, or some
Right.
people not at all. So
Right.
it affected on the sales end as well as on the intake end. Manufacturers, some of the biggest companies stopped making certain items. They couldn't get the drivers, they couldn't get the people to make their product, to get
Right.
it to us. And we're still suffering from that today, probably just as bad as it was in the middle of the pandemic. And we don't see it really solving itself for another year or two.
Another year
The
or so?
supply chain is still a mess.
Interesting.
And of course, expenses are up.
Yeah.
You know, we're paying almost $7 a gallon for diesel fuel. So it's affected everybody. It affected our customers, it affected our business, and it affected people going home to their home.
And what did you do to get through that period of time? Did you shut down here? Did you?
No. We came to work every day and did the best we could. Keep in mind we were servicing schools, hospitals, nursing homes. So there
Right.
was a need. I guess they classified our operation
As essential.
as essential
Yeah.
workers. And we were impacted by people having COVID. We lost one girl, another
Wow.
office girl was wound up in a hospital in a coma for a while. Thank God she's back to work and doing fine.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
so
Yeah. So you were really affected by.
yeah,
By
I mean we were still
Yeah.
out meeting the public
Yeah.
and doing what we needed to do.
Right. Right. So tell us a little bit about what kind of numbers you do here for trucks. We see your trucks everywhere on the highway.
I think we're running about 15 or 16 trucks now. We could put 3 or 4 more truck drivers to work, probably 4 or 5 truck drivers to work tomorrow, if you can find them. You still can't find the help you need to have, nor can our customers. Every customer I talk to, that's the big issue. We don't have the help we want. If you notice, most restaurants have either cut back their hours or closed down for a day, and most of them have reduced their menu and their
Right.
offerings.
Right. Yes, we've seen that a lot. I know we have a lot of clients that have had that same issue
Yeah.
with staffing and supplies. So yeah, and you pivot and you do the best you can.
Do the
right?
best you can. With supplies, I tell all my salespeople, and I tell them to tell the customer when we get notice of what's not available and won't be available, not only tell them about it, but show them the information that they send us. And I tell them you can't promise anybody anything until it's in the building. I mean, we've seen incidents, you order 1,000 cases, 1,000 items from a supplier, and a truck shows up and they only got 2 or 3 items on there.
Yeah.
Instead of having 1,100 pieces delivered, they delivered 100 or 150. And then nobody calls you and tells you until the truck gets here and you realize it.
To go back to the beginning where you talked about the family, how many family members are still part of the company?
Well, there's myself, my partner, my cousin who you met, Peter. My brother Paul works here. He's the general manager, kind of runs the everyday operation. My daughter started working a few weeks ago. She wanted to come back to work, so she's here. I have a cousin that's out on the road as a salesperson. I have another cousin that's the accounts receivable girl. My brother's son is the operations manager, handles the warehouse and the drivers.
So
Who
a lot
else?
of
I might be
family.
missing somebody, but
But a lot of family.
yeah, it's still family.
It's great.
Still,
And the growth, do you have, what do you see for the future for growth here?
just keep doing a good job and growing. That's all, a little at a time. And we've been fortunate enough to be growing the last 82 years.
That's great. Do you sell to the general public?
No,
do you
not
in
generally.
Retail?
Not generally. Sometimes somebody off the street will come in and want to buy a case of hamburgers, but we sell most everything in bulk,
Yeah.
for restaurant use or institutional use.
Great. So what would you say your biggest clientele is? Restaurants?
Absolutely, restaurants.
And not necessarily produce anymore. So I see all sorts of things. What would you say your biggest seller is?
Well, I would say I think frozen foods probably is the biggest, something coming out of the freezer. But produce is still about 20% of our business.
And is most of the food that you distribute, is most of it made in the U.S.?
Yes, most of it is made in the U.S. And we try and do as much business as we can with local suppliers. Of course, everyone has a different opinion of what local is.
It seems like it's such a vibrant plant. We see so much activity around here. It was great to see what's happening inside here.
Well, it's a busy place and sometimes hectic place, and we open up basically Sunday afternoon, and Sunday evening, crew comes in and starts putting orders on the truck for the next day delivery, and that happens till we shut down on Saturday about noontime.
Oh, so you're open 7 days a week here?
Well, pretty close, pretty close. We during this time of year we do some Saturday deliveries locally. Newburyport, Salisbury area, the seasonal businesses that really get hit heavy on the weekend. So we'll deliver on Saturday, again locally. And then we shut down about noontime Saturday, and then the crew starts coming in Sunday evening to start up again, and we run for the week.
So it sounds like a pretty streamlined operation after all these years.
Well, I think streamlined one way, but again, with the interruptions of service from people servicing us, you never know what's happening till it happens.
Right. Well, I appreciate you carving out the time. It was really nice to meet you, and it's going to be great to see a little bit more of the facility and the operation here.
So that was a great story about Fred and the whole Shaheen family and Shaheen business.
Amazing to know that huge distribution facility is right there, and to hear how they grew from being a small produce company to being this large distribution company. It was very interesting.
I mean, they're the fuel. I mean, Amesbury, I'm a big fan of Amesbury restaurants, and a lot of our restaurants couldn't survive, none of our restaurants, could survive without supplies, and they're a supplier, not just to restaurants here in Amesbury, many of our restaurants in Amesbury, but also just throughout the region, the New England region. So it's really cool and really, surreal to think of that so many of the restaurants in the area, they're able to exist because of this very important business right here in Amesbury.
Yes, yeah, very interesting. It was fun.
Now, when you drive by Shaheen Brothers on the highway, you'll know, oh, that's their story.
Right.
But speaking of driving by folks on the highway, I'm really excited. Again, I mentioned this earlier, going to visit with, I think we're going to see Brenda, we're going to see Kathleen, we're going to see Greg, basically half the Shea family over at Shea Concrete. So I'm excited to hear their story. Whenever they tell the story, you can always feel that excitement from this amazing family business. And so let's go. Let's check it out.
Great to see you both, and it's really, I really appreciate that you took the time to meet, and we can talk about your business and your really interesting family history in this business. So thank you so much, Brenda and Kathleen. Tell everybody a little bit about how this company started and how you ended up coming to Amesbury.
Thank you for
that's kind of a really vague question, but
well, thank you.
You have a great story.
Coming to visit us, Janet. The company started in 1949. Our grandparents started it in Wilmington, in their backyard, out of their house, few people that work for them. So now, fast forward all these years later, we have 4 locations. Amesbury is our major location, our headquarters. We've been here for 22 years. And it's a family business. As you know, you've met a few people here today. Our parents are still around. They were here this morning. Our father's here every day.
And they still work? They still work
My
here?
mother's retired. My father is here most days, right? He's in a truck doing,
Whatever
poking
needs
around.
to be done.
Yeah. Talking to employees, saying hi to everyone, checking in with everyone. He's always has ideas, still very active. Kathleen and I and 2 more sisters work in the business. 3 of our husbands work here, and 6 out of the 10 grandchildren.
Wow.
Right? Kathleen's kids work here. Yeah, so it's a true family affair. And we have a lot of people that work here, and there's brothers, his fathers and sons, real family.
A real family business.
And
That's
we
great.
ended up here because there was already a concrete business here, and they wanted to sell, and they wanted to make sure it continued. So they contacted us and asked us if we wanted to buy.
Right.
So my father said, let's do it.
Great.
And then the recession hit right after that.
Right.
And we were a little bit nervous, but it all worked out.
So even back then, it was all family
Yeah.
working there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. And so your kids all work here as well.
Yes.
6 out of 10 of the
6 out of 10.
grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kathleen's kids, my kids don't, but our youngest sister, her 3 kids work here. Some part-time. The youngest is only 16 going on 17.
How many employees do you have here at this location?
At this location, probably 65. We have 120 altogether. Yeah, so we have 4 locations, one in Nottingham, New Hampshire, Wilmington, Mass, Rochester, Mass, and Amesbury.
And this is a really big property. How many acres do you have here? And I know you mentioned that you own the property adjacent where those homes are, and that employees rent from you there, which is
Right,
really
so
interesting.
We've bought up those houses, and it works out well. They're great neighbors to have here. How many acres? I don't know that off the top of my head. We have a lot of space, but we need more. Our products take up a lot of space, storing them, and we have a lot of trucks, as you might have seen when you pulled in. So there's a lot going on here, which you can't see from Route 110.
Right, right. And that's, that's why it makes this so much fun, because, we drive past all of these businesses all the time, and you just don't really grasp the size of the business and the scope of the business. So it's really interesting.
Right.
It's great.
Oh, for sure.
So what, do you make product here? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything we have is manufactured here in our plant. We do stairs and bulkheads for residential. We do septic tanks for residential. We do a lot of state work with DOT. We do barriers for the side of the road, a lot of drainage. We also do buildings. We just recently started doing buildings where people would use for like concession stands, or we've made some dugouts for some colleges. So every
Oh, a
we
wide,
just keep
wide variety
Yeah.
of things,
Yeah.
that you wouldn't even really
exactly.
think of.
There's so many things. I do the accounts receivable, and sometimes I say, we sell this? What is this?
Oh, that's
you know?
so funny.
It's
Like what
always
kind of
something
things?
like, I don't
Bollards.
know. Bollards.
Yeah. Do
You
you know
know?
what a bollard
No,
is?
I
Yeah. I
don't.
don't think I know what a bollard is. To block off maybe in front of
Like a
store.
convenience store
Yeah.
or propane tanks or something.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah,
big
yeah.
pieces of
Yeah.
concrete precast, you know. Light pole bases, all different size light pole bases. If you look over, you know, at parking lots, all the lights have to be in some type of base. We make those
Interesting.
bases.
So now when we see those things out and about, we'll know where they
Right.
came from. Things that you just don't really think about
Exactly.
where they
Right.
come from. Great. So the different types of jobs that you have here, there's got to be a huge range, and I saw the sign out front that you're hiring. But what types of jobs do you have for people here?
Yeah, we need help like everyone does. We need CDL drivers. We could use several of those. We need laborers to work in our plant at all different levels. You know, entry level up to, and they operate overhead cranes. In the building division, there's carpentry kind of work. We have 2 mechanics. We could probably use another mechanic or maintenance kind of person. And in the office, estimators, engineers. You know, so a lot of different
So a lot of
positions
types
to
of-
fill.
of
Yeah,
Careers here.
right, exactly.
That's
And we
great.
would hope somebody would like to make a career out of it. Yeah, like when you came in and I was showing you around a little bit. Our general manager has been here for 55 years. Our grandfather hired him
That's
for a
awesome.
summer help, and he never thought our grandfather never thought that Bob Fleury's our general manager would last the summer, and he's here 55 years
Oh,
later.
that's really funny.
Yeah, and he's part of the family. As you know, we consider ourselves a big family, and we hope to, you know, pass that on to our employees.
I've heard very good things about this company as being a great company to work for. You're also very supportive of the chamber and sponsor a lot of events. What benefits have you seen from your interaction with the chamber?
Just meeting everyone in the city of Amesbury. You know, meeting you. You know, getting to be out in the city and interact with everybody and let people know what we do here. Yeah, and a lot of great people.
And to find out what everyone else does in
Yeah,
town.
for
you
sure.
know. It's interesting.
And are you growing? What's your expectation for growth here?
We certainly could grow if we had more employees. There's a lot of work, you know, construction base, there's so much going on right
Yeah.
now. Who knows when that will come to an end. We hope not too soon, but, you know, with the economy, we don't know. Yeah, it's every year the sales just keep going up. You know, we're just getting bigger and bigger.
That's great.
Yeah.
And the types of things that you supply are things that people are always going to need, right? Everyone's going to need septic systems, and they're going to need those barriers and concrete products. So it's a pretty good, stable business.
And we don't have
right?
a lot of competition around here. You know, we have some smaller precast companies, but not too close to here, you know. But we have good relationships with them too. If they need something that they don't have or they don't make, they buy it from us and resell it. So we have a lot of that too.
So kind of wholesale
Yeah,
business as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Great.
Something that I was going to mention, you know, the name of the show, the broadcast, is Behind the Brick Wall. So our new office, we've been in this office for 4.5 years, it appears to be brick on the outside,
Yep.
but it is precast concrete. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
fun.
when
And
you-
each brick is hand painted.
it is. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
So it's made on site here, big panels, precast panels that are in a form to give it the look of brick. So that's what our buildings are, but this is on a much larger scale. So it
That's
is a-
really interesting.
looks
And
like
you
a
would
brick
never
wall.
know because it
No.
looks like a brick building.
It does, yeah.
Ah, so we are behind the faux brick wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the precast brick wall.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day. It's been really fun
Thank you so
to have a
much.
chance to chat and hear more about the company and love that it's a family business. It's great.
Thank you, Janet. It was
Thank you
nice
for
to have you
coming.
here.
So, Greg, I had the opportunity to chat with Brenda and with Kathleen, and they thought it would be a great idea for me to talk to you. They said that you kind of manage all the operations here. So
Yes.
thank you, because I'm
Yep.
sure you're very busy.
Yeah, no problem at all, though.
So thanks for taking the time.
You're very welcome. So it's been, I've been with the company for 29 years, and I've worked my way up through all different parts of it. When my father-in-law asked me to come, he said that I want you to start from the ground, building wire cages, and then learn every bit of the company as you work through it.
Wow. So he had you start from the ground up,
Yep,
literally.
literally, exactly. Right in the production plant. I worked in production for 8 years and did different parts of the jobs, estimating, fork truck driver, all that. Yeah. Now I'm
Did-
president.
Oh, that's great. And so 29 years you've been here.
29, yeah.
Wow.
29 this month.
Wow. Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Are they going to throw you a party? At the
Nah,
end?
I don't want a party.
So I was surprised to know that you guys have 4 locations, and you have 65 employees here,
Correct. Yep.
and you do all your manufacturing here.
All 4 locations manufacture. This is our biggest location. When we purchased this place 25 years ago or 23 years ago, we decided that it's a nice piece of property, and we thought it would be a good place for our headquarters. And it had enough land to be able to put a good-sized production building in. So we expanded our first time in 2008, right before the market crash.
Yeah.
And we just did another large addition here about a year and a half ago, finished it. Yeah, 20,000 square foot addition we added on.
Wow. And so you do production here. What types of products do you make right here?
Anything out of wet cast. So a lot of people don't realize that we just make the products at the factory. We don't do anything at the job site. So we make septic tanks, retaining walls, jersey barriers, steps for your house, and it's all made in the factory before we deliver it. Bridge systems, box culverts, anything that can be made ahead of time before it gets delivered.
And you do sell directly to the consumer, so
We do.
people can actually order directly from you. You don't deal just with contractors.
Right. So
Developers.
our primary customers are contractors or site excavators, but we do sell to homeowners. Usually it would be steps for their house.
Yeah.
If they're looking to upgrade their entranceway to their home, then we'll sell them stairs with a brick finish, granite, dress them up a little bit. And sometimes retaining wall block. Retaining wall block we make is large, so you need equipment, but a lot of times homeowners are looking to do work in their own property, and they'll buy that from us.
And you just deliver it right to the site?
We'll deliver to the site and offload it. Something like stairs we'll actually set in place for them, so they don't have to worry about having a crane there to do it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting, really interesting. And the property here, I did ask your wife and your sister-in-law about the size of the property, but you've got acres and acres here, right? So there's still more room to expand, to grow the business over the
Yeah.
years?
Well, right now we're using, I would say, 35 acres of land right now. We're expanding 6 more acres right now as we speak, and that's primarily going to be used for storing product. Because everything's made ahead of time, and we need a place to store it so that it can cure before we can deliver it. So that's why we're adding on more storage area for that reason.
So it's not showroom, it's actually curing while it's sitting there.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yep.
Didn't know that.
So concrete for precasters usually cures in a week to 4 weeks, depending on what the product is.
So this is a real family business.
Yes.
Lots of family dynamic
Yeah.
here. So any family secrets you can share?
It definitely gives you a different perspective for sure. And then it's hard to be together as a family and not discuss work,
Yeah.
right? And it's also difficult sometimes to, I guess, give be able to communicate what you want done at work with family members. I guess is the best way to put it sometimes. I mean, it's nice that we all get along. We do stuff outside of work. And there's a lot of us, I think you're probably told, there's at least a dozen family members that kind of work together, you know. So it does throw a little bit of dynamic in it. But Ed Shea's a great guy, and he raised a great family, and just him. It was his father that started it. And Ed's the type of guy that everybody loves, you know, including his son-in-laws. He's the type of guy, handshake gentleman, you know, always wanted to know how you're doing, how are things going, and things. You know, he's a great person to work for, a great father-in-law.
Right.
So.
That's perfect. And I put you on the spot there, asking you that question, but I can tell you that from what I have heard, that all of these employees here, the 65 give or take employees, that this is a true family business and that all of your employees are treated like family. And I've heard very, very good things about this as a company to work for.
So we definitely want to make sure our employees like being here. No question about it. And we like our customers to think of us not as that they're just a number either. Right. And we had doubled in size. We had bought this was our competition that we purchased here. And we doubled in size overnight. And then we acquired another company that was, the owner was retiring, and that was our fourth location that we ended up. So we grew in a 10-year, 15-year period pretty quick. I always wanted to make sure that we still had that family kind of feel, and that was to the employees as well as the customers. Because our biggest concern was everybody to feel like they're just a number, and I didn't want that. And I did hire somebody who's no longer with us, and I wouldn't call him a salesperson. He was customer relations. I just wanted him to go out and just say hi to everybody. Just say, how are things going? Is there anything that you need? But not necessarily sell, because I wanted to make sure the face of Shea was still getting out there.
Yep.
And that's one thing I still today want to make sure that the face of Shea is still getting out there without it being a corporation. You know, family business.
Still a family business.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day.
You're very welcome.
To chat. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
That was fun.
It was really fun.
So I have to ask you, what was something that you didn't expect to learn, or that you didn't know? I mean, because you're Miss Amesbury. What did you learn about one of our largest Amesbury businesses?
I didn't realize that both of them had started out as little mom and pop businesses, and that they have grown into these large corporations. That was really fascinating to me, and that they're both literally next door to each other, and their properties are acres and acres and acres of land, and they employ so many people. It's really fascinating.
I think my favorite thing about the Shea family is you always hear stories. You know, families start businesses, and then families kind of disintegrate right around the business as the next generation takes over. And it's just so neat to think that you have these four sisters who all work for the same business that their father helped build. And they work amongst, these guys in the concrete industry, many of them who will say, oh, I remember when they were in diapers, this one was in diapers and that one. And to see not only all of them working there, but to see nieces and nephews.
Generations, it was real. And it's such a beautiful state-of-the-art facility too. And I didn't know that they also do sell directly to consumers, where Shaheen doesn't, and they do wholesale. I also didn't know that Shaheen Brothers has such an operation, and that so we talked about kind of how they were impacted during COVID, because they supply schools and hospitals, but large facilities that closed, right? Colleges, right? So that was really interesting to see and to hear the family story. And then the Shea family all still running that business, and the sisters and husbands and an ex-husband, and and some of the children, and Ed Shea still working there
It's cool.
every day. So it was really fun, and it was fun to see both facilities.
They make concrete exciting over at Shea. I mean, it's a great little section that we have over on Haverhill Road. A lot of energy. Again, 200 employees that those two businesses represent, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
great.
An engine of our economy.
And they're big supporters of the chamber.
You know what? I have to say, like, if the chamber and the community beyond, you talk about the block party, shop Localopoly, just community events. Shea is there. I mean, so I have my best story for Shea is that, what the things that we did this past December was that we had several chamber members dress up as Santa and Mrs. Claus and the Grinch, and Anna and Elsa. And, to Greg Stratus's credit, the president of Shea Concrete, to Kathleen Shea's credit, to Brenda Stratus's credit, Greg was there dressed up as Santa. Brenda and Kathleen, true to their sisterhood, dressed up as Anna and Elsa, and they walked around downtown to visit with customers and the local businesses. Like they're just really good people all around, and we're lucky in Amesbury that, no matter the size of the business, we really have true community-oriented people running our businesses.
Absolutely, yeah.
So.
It was really fun, and I think it's going to be a really interesting video because it was so great to hear Greg talk about how Ed Shea made him start at the ground floor and work his way up and learn kind of every aspect of the business, and now he's the president. So it was really fun. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, speaking of community-oriented businesses, I want to give a shout out to you and your company, Faulkner Commercial Group and Mountaintop Landscaping. You both make it not just possible that we have this program, but that we're able to actually distribute it, make sure people outside of Amesbury know about the neat things we have happening here. And of course, the folks over at Amesbury Community Television, they spend hours with us taping and editing, and honestly, we're divas, you and I. We're tough to work with.
No, they make us look good.
Yeah, they do. And of course, our biggest fan, Mrs. Ryan, we love you. But make sure that you check out more videos over at www.amesburychamber.com under the Behind the Brick Wall program tab. And thanks for spending time with us and learning more about Amesbury's businesses.
Looking forward to the next one. It's great.
Thanks.
Thanks.